especially those who live in urban America, often give me the same response when they hear that not only do I hunt, but I've hunted all around the world. And I'm also a writer for a hunter's magazine. They often eye me up and down and then stop, and they nod. And then they sometimes even smile. And it's at this moment that they realized they found a slight flaw in my character. But it's usually something they can live with. They then go and tell me about their uncle or some other friend, someone who has shared in the same transgressions in their pastime activities as I had. So they get it. If I want to kill an animal for fun, they'll understand it most of the time. And then they'll go and say, you do eat meat though, right? You don't just kill them. I mean, right? And this is them trying to find a common ground, a moral common ground to justify my pastimes. And I'll say, of course I do. But I don't think they really understand what I'm thinking. I don't think they get it at all. I can tell them that hunters pay for most of the conservation that goes on in America. After all, we do have to pay a Pittman-Robertson tax when we buy guns and ammunition. Just last year alone, we raised over $18 million, and then another $350 million was raised from similar taxes that were just based on fishing supplies. And the National Shooting Sports Foundation also estimates that on a daily basis, about $3.5 million of these taxes and fees goes to wildlife conservation efforts. We have nearly 15 to 20 million hunters in the U.S. and over 100 million gun owners. So that's just a small slice of where the funds are coming from as far as hunters go. And regardless of this, every time you hear a gunshot, you also hear a cash register ring, the sound of money being raised for conservation. But there's more to conservation than just money. Because by controlling deer populations, we're also saving habitats for being browse. And this benefits many other species of animals, not just big game or small game or even non-game animals. For example, every big game species in the U.S. that has had a hunting season placed on them, we saw a dramatic increase in their population. But typically, we as hunters don't want a wildlife population to exceed the environment's carrying capacity. Because if there are too many deer, then all the vegetation is going to be eaten. And that means a buck that would normally be healthy isn't. It has tiny antlers, and some of them even died to malnutrition. So we often plant food plots for them now as hunters. So we control the population, and we feed them when they're overpopulated. And we also fertilize trees so they can produce good fruit and good seeds and nuts for the deer. And we're proud of this. We're proud of what we do, but that's not it. We often go out in the woods and we search for game, and we hunt them as a family tradition, a ritual that brings together generations of people. And we sit at the table together and we enjoy this meat together. But this isn't also the only reason. We also go because it's a thrilling experience, because it brings us closer to nature, closer to the wild. We become like a predator in the wilderness. And some of us just eat because we like free-range meat that is definitely hormone-free. It's natural. So we as hunters today, we don't share today's preservationist belief that if we try to mess with nature, we're going to harm it. We believe that we are a part of the ecosystem we live in. So forest, game animals, it's all fair for us to be considered conservationists. It's not off limits to us. And finally, while we hunt, that's complicated. It can't be toned down to just one reason. But what it does for us, what it does for wildlife, what it does for the environment, is indisputable. If you're pro-environment, you have to be pro-hunting.